That's a couple of things I'm going to do here. Oh, there we go. So we're going to be reading the Pirush Rahut here a little bit. You see exactly how we want to do it. Okay, so we have a little bit of... let's just start for Amnam. I don't know, there's an introduction here. The introduction says the Shlosh Matzos Rem is the Shloshet Tziyuri HaOz Hey. So one of the things that bothers me about reading this as when we're going through this is that it concentrates right here. The very first thing is on Katnus Rishon. So what's it talk right away about Katnus Rishon? So, but the Katnus Rishon actually doesn't come in right away. Also, I thought that the rule was that you have first you have godless Rishon that comes in by itself. Then you have a Katnus Sheni, and then is when I thought you had Karpas. I haven't really worked it out, so but he's not talking like that. He's going to come and talk just about this letter Hey, which is a part of the name Elokim, which is like a lavush for the Mochin de Katnus. So anyway, that's what he wants to talk about first. And I guess because you would say that we would think about it is that we're in a state of Katnus. We're in a state of Katnus Rishon. So therefore, we don't want to introduce it. But something like that. Let's go over here in the Pirush Rahut. This is the Hey Shel Elokim. Let's see your, it could be either, D, Do, or Vav, 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 Ramozim, B'matzah. So there's a reference to it in matzah. So he says, V'amna, Afshb'minyan Milas Matzah. What you're actually doing is a Gematria 135. If you, the word matzah, he said, Nechlalim Rak Shnei Mochim Shehem Chochma Bina. So this is the first thing he says, is that the matzah itself represents two mochim. Even though that we're going to learn later on that it has to do with the mochin de Abba, here he says it just, he says later on, okay, right now, he says it's the mochin shuhu chochma bebina. Because those hoy shlosha matzos, but even so, that's only two mochim. We're counting three. But mitzvahs alayla, he said, but matzahs alayla, mitzvahs alayla, he said, the fi esha oz hey. And he says the reason why you have three is because the Os He has three manifestations. Shloshet Tziyurim. O Du, O Da, O Di, O Vav, Vav, Vav. So he says, going down to the next Brak print, he says, Kanoida. So he says, Busod Milas HaMavorach. So that's apparently somewhere else, so you could pick that up. Somewhere else, and he says we're in the Tosefta on Shabbos. So he said Shloshes Urim Elu Heim Behei. They also come in this one letter, which is the letter that could be switched in different ways. Zu Shabashem Elokim Haniska the El Sheyesh Bohu Shlosha Mini Miluyim. It has three different ways it could be spelled. So when it's in its pashat state, you could see there's a difference between the three possibilities of them. So there's three different ways that we can express these three different what? D, when we say that, Dalad Yud, on a botzim with this, we're botzim, one second, I got the wrong, turn it too far. On a botzim, okay, I didn't, okay, my mistake. He says, La'achar habrachos es amatzah al yona, l'motzeh b'shir kazayish hu sod os yud. Now, there is some comment on this, but I don't really see how you got this. He's going to explain it some. He says that the upper matzah, let's say the matzah, the motzi for the motzi, yesh ramaz nosef the os yud. He says it's the concept of the letter yud. He said od yesh ramaz nosef about the yud, that this represents what it represents Matzah the SHAAR Shalema, because this matzah is not broken up into different pieces, broken up. V'lo nechsas and nechsas b'mitzvahs yachatz. So it's not cut apart when you do the yachatz part. Because zayis al v'bracha al chidas matzah, and then you take a kazayis for the chidas matzah. Min matzah ha'paprusa shehe's so daled commotion of the letter daled, which is, we're going to explain how it is that it looks like that. Shachacheda ragoda min ha'prusa, which is the vav, represents the vav, who nishar afikomen, so it's going to stay over, it's going to be used for the afikomen. That's the big part. He says, Keneged Seer Daled Vav, so he said that had to do, the Yud had to do with this concept of a kazayas. So how that worked out, or how it is a kazayas, I'm not sure, but that's what he said, because it's more shalom. Keneged Seer Daled Vav, V'andachu B'botzim, Bizman Mitzvahs Yachatz, when we split them, as a matzah soy, when we split this, the middle matzah, the shtaim to two, so it has to be that the first part has to be the large part, which is bigger. So because that part is the Helek Rishon would be bigger, that's going to be later saved for the Afikomen. So the second part, which is eat with the chazayas shal hamotzi, yoser cotton will be smaller. Yehu neged os dalad, because the dalad is going to be less. Explain what's less about the dalad. Ki misbar vav yoser al misbar dalad. So he's going on. V'neged seer vav 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 ana osim zecher the mikdash. We make a remembrance for the mikdash. This is the third matzah, kehilo, b'matzah shlishis, korchim also im hamara. So we wrap it up, or what's the right way? We combine it into a sandwich with the maror. Shehi remez al shlosha vavim an iskarim v'chein. So this is a remez to the three different vavs rather that were mentioned. V'chein ki kamo kein hu matzah shlishis. So that's the third matzah. Gam remez l'zeh, so there's a remez to that. Al yedech shehoya hilo. Korach shlosha devarim biyachad shehem batzer pesach u'matzah u'moro keneged shlosha vavim kanisan iskarim. Now he's not explaining here what's going on with the vavim and what they accomplish. Let's look at Inyan Bir HaChometz V'Hasa'or. He has a little introduction. Let's take a look at it. He says, Azer Choser Le'inyan and Nizka B'Dechida B'Tam Sh'B'Minyan Milas Matzah. When you take the gematria there, Lochu Nichlalo El Shnei Mochim Chochba B'Bina. So where the third Moch comes from, where it's with Das. So originally he said that that they represent Chochma B'Bina, the matzahs themselves by themselves, or else I guess so they're unblemished. As the Vara V'Om Kain Lo Nichlo Muach Adas Imachem, so Das is not part of them. The Visha B'Das, who so the Chometz V'Hasa'or, because there is the place where the bleeding takes place, so the Chometz in the sore bleeds out. Aromas La Achizas Achitzoni V'Chigedei Einu Nichlal B'Chlal Matzah. So therefore, it's not part of the matzah. Matzah is the gematria of Av and Sag. He said, "Bezech Yizboyer Tam She'asrach B'Torah B'Chag Pesach as a Chometz V'Hasor. Ki Gavarn Yizboyer She'B'Mecha Pesach Heim B'So the Katnut." Because during Pesach is a serious secret system or situation where we're in Katnut. V'Hashem is the Katnut Heim Elokim B'Milui, as we said previously. Haramaza Ba'osius Sa'or. So they're also really all represented by the letters Sa'or. So let me get his phrase right. Hashem is the Katas Elokim. So we know that. Actually, I don't know, he either said it here or he said it elsewhere, that the Mochim themselves are not Elokims. It's the Levush of the Mochim, which is called by the name Elokim. And it's that Elokim, which is that we're referring to, and it attaches itself to the concept of the Mochen de Katnus. The Katnus Heim Elokim b'milui Ramazim ba'osios Sor. So how did we get this out of there? He says once the Katnus and Sor go together, because this is where the lesion bleeds out to the other side. Okay, and it's Tavinu, the hierarchy as a unique, so therefore this possibility, it's important for us to keep this away. Azul al the air bira chometz or mikodem b'Pesach, because we remove it before Pesach. That's the whole idea over there. So he says, so Amnam, Mochadas no nirmez b'minyan matzah kenizka. So their das and das is not part of the gematria of the word matzah itself. Kira chitzonius nefsaze b'chasade v'gavurza shabo v'chein ne'asrog b'mechapesach b'chometz achometz v'chasaor kira chometz hu nirmez b'chasade v'chasaor asher mutzo yoser kosher hu nirmez b'gavurski sham misaschim yoser. So that's the secret of the Dam Tame. So he says, goes on, and he said, now, what is the meaning of that? It's written that it's missing a vav. Who Romas the Shem Elokim, and it's a reference to the whole name itself without the vav. The remembrance of the name Elokim, Gevuros, the Katnus, which refers to the different Gevuros of Katnus. Now, once again, he says, that the word itself is a reference, which is missing a vav, is a remez to the Elokim, Gevuros, the Katnus. So he said, Geshahu b'michu yudin, hu gematria shin, min saor. That's the shin of the saor, which is gematria 300. V'acharayim, if you take it in a revuah, it's just a simple a revuah. Acharayim peshutim shalochem reish min saor. That's the reish that comes from the word saor. V'klalas Hashem atzbachushu elokim peshutach el aleph min saor. So now you have also the aleph. So in saor itself, we see all three different manifestations of how you could spell the name of Elokim and come up with the letters Saor. Ki ha'os aleph hu rosh tevos Elokim. The letter aleph always refers to Elokim. Liyoski b'mecha Pesach hu dugmas hayamim she'achar holedis avlad. It's similar to the time right after the child is born. So there's a certain amount of flow into Zer Anpin at that time. He tachlis kol kanesis amochen the godless b'Zer Anpin. Below Pesach hu kadei limnoach as a chizach yitzayim min amochen the godless. So we understand that. So that's the idea, that the reason why we're going through the Seder, and we know that the Mochen, the godless, come in right away. So he says, Sha'al Kain ain't a Mochen, the godless, the Sha'arnam Dol Bekevis, so therefore they're not going to stay there permanently. Vestalkum Kulam Achar Yom Rishon, and they all leave after the first day. Sha'al Pesach v'choza the Bechidas Katnus, and it goes back to Katnus. So Pesach is about Katnus. Katnus except for the first night, or the first day. Then in Nigdal ad Chag Shavuos, and Zer Anpin really doesn't come to maturity until Shavuos. Shrak Oznish Arim Bacham Mochen the Gala Bekevis, because that's when they maintain themselves permanently there. So therefore, that's the reason why we shouldn't have them. So this is basically the idea is that if they're around, we have to remove them in any case. For Remes Bezer Shelo the Hakdim Kadisas Amochen the Katnus Rishon Bezer Anpin, but let's not forget that the first thing we do, even though the first thing in this Drush we're talking about, which is the Mochen the Katnus, which are these Elokims in different forms, he says Kadisas Amochen the Katnus Rishon Bezer Anpin, Lifnei Knesses Amocha de Gadol Sheni. So it doesn't take place until you get to Gadol Sheni, which is really real protection for this. Kadei Shelo Yankwach Chitzonim in the Chasadim V'Gavuros Shal Katnut Dezer Anpin L'Chein Sark L'Vayr Osel Ukodim BePesach Kadei Shelo Yisachzu Bechem B'Chitzonim, so the Chitzonim should not get a hold of them. Okay, so I guess that as things go in time, so this